Live from Los Angeles. It's time to get inside the Gamers Dome with your host, Scott Gerhardt. Bringing you all of today's gaming news and information all in one place. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Welcome to the Gamers Dome.
Welcome everyone to episode 34 of the Gamers Dome. I am your host, Scott Gerhardt, and joining us this week in the co-host chair, we have Danny Batterbin. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Not too bad, Scott. How about you?
Good. So, happy Grand Theft Auto 5 Day.
Yeah, that has been the talk of the video game world. I actually just got back from New York City on a vacation, and they had an entire building, two parts of a building that was just sectioned off with a giant ad. It was probably 50 stories tall. Was ridiculous, but so far I think it's living up to the hype.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems so, with as much promotion as Rockstar's put behind it and everything.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends, including my brother, who love Grand Theft Auto, and all they've been doing me all day is texting me how good this game is and how much I need to buy it, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So, sorry, we're dealing with the tech.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, we're getting the volumes here. The volume level is correct. Okay, so well, besides that, how's your week been, Danny? How's it going here?
Not too bad. I just, as previously mentioned, got back from New York City, where I was celebrating my great aunt and great uncle's 70th wedding anniversary.
Good Lord, that is a long time to be married.
Yeah. She was 18, he was 23, and they're still alive and kicking, and
Wow.
still have all their senses about them. So God bless.
Love the success stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of gaming. Played a little bit of Magic this weekend, so we'll I'll get to that later. But I always love when I get a chance to play some Magic here. So, but let's talk about some more of the news here. So obviously, as we were leading here, Grand Theft Auto 5 with all the promotion has finally hit today. So it's not really so much. I mean, it's news that it's hit, but we don't have a whole lot of other news to go with it. Except actually, I do have one little thing that we're going to hit coming up here. But I'm sure in a week from now we'll have reaction and stuff like that as to how things are actually going with it.
The viral campaign has been absurd. There have been commercials running on Monday Night Football for this game, and it's really only something you get with Rockstar, and really only something you get with a name like this. So it's got a lot of hype behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Grand Theft Auto. Admittedly, not so much my cup of tea, but a lot of people have been highly anticipating this one. So I'm interested to see what other people have to say on it. So, speaking of games, though, that have been out for a little while and started to sell, Disney Infinity has sold nearly 300,000, about 294,000 copies in the U.S. so far, it looks like. I mean, that's that Skylanders-style game, and it's... Oh. Well, that's awesome. So, my computer just crashed. Isn't that always nice? So, we'll just talk about it anyway. So have you had a chance yourself to play with Skylanders or anything like that? I have not.
Neither have I, but I do know that since getting into the video game industry with the launch of Kingdom Hearts, Disney has put out a lot of quality games, both everything in that series and Epic Mickey, which I believe sold pretty well. The sales number from Infinity seems to tell that this one's going to be another success, which honestly, with a name like Disney, it's not surprising. They don't necessarily do things without knowing what they're getting into. So
yeah, no, it's definitely I mean, I'm a former Disney cast member, so I'm always a little bit biased when it comes to anything that they actually do, but I don't have the stuff, but it's one of those things I've really kind of wanted to get my hands on and play and try, and it's 168 hours in a week, and they've been pretty well allocated thus far. So I just haven't had a chance to get into something new there.
Something I've always noticed about their games too is that the controls are very tight and very responsive. And personally, that's one of the things I really look for in a game. If the controls are sloppy, I put the game down really quickly. So the fact that they can give that kind of consistency game after game really just does say something to their development.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do we got next here on our news front?
Coming up next, Blizzard removes AHs from Diablo 3.
Oh yeah, the gold and the real money auction house. I guess it's like in March 2014. That's completely going away. I was, as highly anticipated as it all was to begin with, I'm really kind of shocked that Blizzard's. I mean, I know why they did it, but Blizzard usually does a good job of doing their research, and once they move forward with something like this large, that they're going to stay with it. So I don't know.
And it's, from my point of view, I'll play devil's advocate. I like the fact that this means that players can't buy their way into the game anymore, and they have to go through it and work with it, and it has to be more skill based. I hate it when someone can just jump into a game and drop X amount of dollars and be at the same place I am, where I've spent all this time and all this effort into getting these items and doing things like that. I think it's a really smart move on their part. But
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the concept of not having it to begin with, but it was so kind of controversial to start, but they went forward with it anyway, and it's, I don't know. I agree they probably never should have put it in, so now they're fixing the problem, but it was such a big deal to begin with, and now it's a big deal that they're removing it. And
you're always going to have people that complain, but they see that this isn't necessarily, after trying it, the direction they wanted their game to go. And, if the vocal majority is loud on how they didn't want the auction houses in the game, I think it's big show of humility on Blizzard's part by saying, all right, guys, we understand you didn't like this. We messed up. We're going to get rid of it, which is not something a company of that size normally does.
No, not at all.
So that's at least, kudos to them, but it's still, and it does beg the question why they even added it in the first place.
Yeah. So Mighty Number 9, the Kickstarter, is we covered this a couple weeks ago. It's from for those who didn't catch that, these are the people who have designed the entire Mega Man series, and so now they've kind of gone off on their own, and they're doing this new 3D side scroller kind of Mega Man style, and thus far they've raised over $2.25 million. That seems like a few dollars to have actually raised doing this. So, and they're getting very close to having it where they need to, so we can get it for things like the Wii U and Xbox One and PS4 and all of that. Or are you much of a Mega Man guy?
I definitely have played a lot of Mega Man back in back in the day when I was growing up, and I used to watch the cartoon show that was that would air on UPN of all things.
Yep.
That is not a small number, and really, considering the fact that a lot of indie games are able to go on this platform for a lot less, I think the kind of danger with having it be this high is that a lot of people are now going to have their expectations set very high with the amount of money that they have. It's like, well, we've given you all this money, you should, give us a product to show for it. But considering the lineage of these guys, I think they're going to deliver big time.
Oh yeah, I mean these people are. You've got just a bunch of frankly legends in this industry working on this. I mean, people have been doing this style of game for so long. So, so the PS4 and Xbox, we've got to get up to 3.3 million. So they are a little more than 2/3 of the way there with 13 days to go. I think there's a good chance. If you, I would recommend anyone going on to Kickstarter, if you've not already checked out Mighty Number 9 and giving it a look. It's a really snazzy looking game. Okay, so there's been some reports lately, because we have the whole PS4 versus Xbox thing, that the PS4 is about 50% faster than the Xbox One. $100 cheaper and 50% faster?
So if this is true, which, I think very well could be, this just shows another example of how Sony is really beating Microsoft in every level regarding this system. I think they recognize the flaws in the PlayStation 3 as compared to the Xbox 360, and I think they've responded very well. There has not been a moment for me that it looks like the Xbox One has been a superior console to the PlayStation 4 ever since the announcement at G4. It's been actually so... PS4 has been so much ahead of the game comparatively to the Xbox One that Microsoft has now even gone back and changed things about the Xbox One based on what the PS4 is doing. It's really kind of shifting the balance of power over to Sony in between these two consoles, which have been fighting as the more serious adult consoles ever since Nintendo went off in a completely separate direction with the Wii. So if this is true, which I believe it very much can be, it has to do with processing speed. It's just another reason that Sony's knocking this out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. So, it's... In a way, you're getting the one company's doing everything right, and the other one's, I won't say doing everything wrong, but doing enough wrong that they're just shooting themselves in the foot. And if you're going to be $100 more, you should not be 50% slower.
Yeah. Thing, too, is that, these things do shift. Like, I personally always preferred the PlayStation 2 as compared to the original Xbox, and then prefer the Xbox 360 as compared to the PlayStation 3. So, just another iteration. Technology's going to get better, and, even though it's probably going to be, kind of like Batman and the Joker in the sense that these two companies are going to be duking it out with their consoles until the end of time.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about a little bit more Grand Theft Auto 5 news. So there's an iPhone app out there for Grand Theft Auto 5. It's Grand Theft Auto iFruit. So it taps into Grand Theft Auto 5 to, quote, further postpone the need for real social interaction. So this app is... I read this, and I was kind of shaking my head, and I'm like, these guys are having a lot of... you could tell they're just having fun with this. They've launched their own social network, the Life Invader, which is kind of like a little Facebook parody that they're having fun with. And, like, you can tinker with your cars. You can even... the app will even let you train Franklin's dog Chop, excuse me. And you can pet him, feed him, play fetch, and teach him tricks using the app. And actually using the app will make him more responsive and useful in the game.
I got nothing. If it makes them money, good for them. But this is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
It is. It's completely ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I would have liked to have been in on the meeting where they were like, let's make an app where you can train the dog, and the dog becomes more useful in the game. Like, that's a meeting I would have loved to have been in the room for.
Seems like an oversight not to have an Android app if they're just going to go all in on this. I'm sorry I'm laughing. This is so ridiculous to me that it's funny.
Yeah, no, I think it is funny. So, and then you've got the stuff like the Life Hacker. It's like, or Life Invader. It's... What's their tagline? Where your personal information becomes a marketing profile that we can sell. Which, let's be honest, that is Facebook.
It is. It is, but it's just kind of sad that at this point no one's really standing up and kind of voicing objections to this, at least from my mind. My favorite book is 1984 by George Orwell. If you haven't read it, read it.
It is actually my favorite book as well.
Oh, nice.
So yes, I very, very much so. In everything, you are in everything you're either the consumer or you're the product. And if you're not paying money, you're the product.
Yeah, this is getting a bit too Big Brother-esque for me, personally.
For me, I don't know. I guess I don't personally care too much. I'm not really that guy that's cared a whole bunch. So, yeah, it's just me. I've never been the type of guy that's like, I'm going to stay off Facebook or anything.
Yeah. So I got to admit, when I saw this on the notes, I was like, oh, there's a Grand Theft Auto parody on Facebook, and some people designed this. Oh, that's funny. Way to tap into the hype and promote your own brand. But no, it's far worse than far worse than I imagined.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, I want to hit on Steam Family Sharing. Have you seen this?
No, but I know that Steam's been doing things with like trading cards, which is genius of them. But
what this is a way so that you can have essentially one game shared amongst multiple accounts. So like your friends and family can all kind of use this game and share it. Now, only one person can be actively using it at a time. So if you want to like play against your friends or something like that, they'll all need their own copy. But it's like, oh, I'm not using this right now. If you want to play it, sure.
That's genius. That I don't want to say about time, because I don't know how many people have been clamoring for this, or how easy the idea was to come up with. But this is a brilliant marketing plan. It allows people to, get more access and more exposure to these games, and if they like it enough, they'll buy it themselves, so they can multitask or they can do campaign with their friends. I don't think it's going to hurt their bottom line at all, and it's just really, really smart.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't see it really hurting the bottom line. I don't see too many cases where there are going to be multiple people in the same family purchasing the same game, but I could certainly see people saying we're not going to buy any copies if we can't share them around. So
I mean, just at least on my end, my roommates couple of years back in college tried forever to convince me to play Team Fortress 2, and I didn't want to because it was too expensive. And then a Steam sale came along, and I finally bit the bullet, and it was a great game. If there was this system in place, they could have given me this game. I could have played online for a little bit, and then I would have been like, all right, I'll buy it and play it with you guys. And so this is just, at least from the positive standpoint, much more marketing. And I think for college kids in a household, this is in a dorm or in an apartment, this is going to be huge. So good on them.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you actually have some news from League of Legends Worlds that's been going on. This is a huge deal.
Yeah, this is the talk of esports right now, is the fact that this is going on. And even though I don't necessarily play much League of Legends, I have to give a big shout out to my girlfriend, who was able to give me all of this information. We've gone through 2 days of League of Legends Worlds right now. The story of the week is that OMG is currently 2-0 in their bracket. They're in the A bracket, or the A group, and they haven't played their second day yet. That takes place tomorrow. But the fact that they are undefeated at the moment is apparently a big surprise, and no one expected them to do this well. So good on them. The second biggest story coming out of the tournament, at least from the second day in the B bracket, Fnatic got paired up against Gambit, and everyone was expecting Gambit to steamroll them to go on to a 4-0, but Fnatic in the group stage took a 21-4 lead. That means 21 kills compared to 4 deaths on their team.
Whoa!
And blew Gambit out of the water, so they're both now tied at the lead of the B group for 3-1. Following them up, we have Vulcan at 2-2 and Samsung Ozone at 2-2, while Mineski is 0-4. Which does not look good for them. And on the A group, which has only gone through 1 day of competition, we have the previously mentioned OMG at 2-0. We have SKT, T1, TSM, and Lemon Dogs at 1-1, and Gaming Gear at 0-2 for the bottom of that group.
Wow. That's intense. That's crazy. So the last thing that I want to mention here coming up is I want to talk a little Magic here, because I'm a Magic player, and you are as well, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be my wheelhouse.
So Grand Prix Oklahoma City is coming up here. It's going to be in about 2 weeks. I think that's roughly where we're at right now on that. A little more than 2 weeks here. 2 weeks and a few days. LegionEvents.com is putting this on. Steve Port and those guys. Those guys always run a absolutely fantastic tournament. I've known them and those guys for years and years. I'm going to be at Grand Prix Oklahoma City, and I definitely hope to see a number of you guys there as well. I'll be there with camera on chest as normal. So make sure you head over to LegionEvents.com and get yourself pre-regged. Like, you want to make sure that you're getting pre-regged, you get the mat and you get everything. So don't delay. Just go over there, LegionsEvents.com, and get yourself pre-registered.
It's also, speaking of pre-registration, for those who haven't heard, starting, I believe, next year, it's either next year or next season, I'm not 100% sure, but they're going to be getting rid of Saturday on-site registration, which, as a judge who has worked multiple Grand Prix, including Grand Prix Las Vegas, which was the first tournament to implement this, it is a very large time saver, and it makes it so that the tournament can start at a reasonable time. But it is something to get into the habit of pre-regging, so you should do that now to get yourself warmed up and to start getting it ingrained in your memory, so that come next year or next season, you won't show up to a Grand Prix and not find yourself unable to play.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. With the attendance, I mean, that's what it is. It's coming down to that, so get used to the habit. 4,500 people in Vegas, and we had to cap it because of the fire code. There were still lines out the door trying to get into this Grand Prix. It was an event. Trust me, I know. I was there. I was playing, so.
And we still got everyone out day one, I think, an hour and a half earlier than expected. Things ran so well. So.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk with Orion Walker and Matt Sophos. They're a couple of guys behind the new game Lost Planet 3. We'll catch up with them when we come back. You are listening to the Gamers Dome on the Drawing Board Radio Network.
You're listening to the Gamers Dome, broadcast on location at MTG Deals. MTG Deals is proud to announce the Deals Open taking place September 28th and 29th, featuring Standard and Legacy Constructed, and the Magic the Gathering California State Championships taking place October 5th. Make sure to stop by mtgdeals.com or facebook.com/mtgdeals for updates and events.
Attention techno fans, you're listening to Electro Motion by Studiotronics, just one of the many exciting tracks from their album Straight from the Source. Stimulate your brain and get your body moving to these high energy cuts. Also, check out their newest single available for download, Electro. Don't just sit there, get your fix for Studiotronics, now available on iTunes, Amazon.com, and CDBaby.com.
Scott here for Loot Crate. If you want to get the best and coolest geek and gamer stuff delivered right to your door every month, then you've got to get a Loot Crate. We've been doing these unboxings for, 3 or so months on YouTube, and they're just awesome. I mean, each month you're getting like $30 worth of stuff shipped right to you with a new theme every month, like Equip, Mashup, Token, and more. I've yet to open a disappointing box, and knowing these guys, I never will. You can get your own today with a special discount just for our listeners. They're normally $13.37 a month, but head over to lootcrate.com and enter in the promo code DOME to get 10% off. For the price of a cheap game download, you get shirts, bags, toys, plushes, stickers, and more. You never know what they're going to ship that month. It's great. So just head over to lootcrate.com, sign up with promo code DOME for 10% off. You'll be glad you did. Again, that's loot, L-O-O-T, crate.com, promo code DOME for 10% off. Welcome back, everyone, to the Gamers Dome. Okay. So, as we mentioned before the break, our guests at this time, we have, I think we have them both. I hope we have them both. We have the co-writer, Orion Walker, and the game director, Matt Sophos, of the new game Lost Planet 3. So, do we have both of you?
Hi, Scott. Orion's here.
Hey, Orion. Matt, you there? Womp womp. We're going to see if we can get Matt on real fast. Okay, so we're trying to get Matt on here. We've had a small Skype difficulty.
I'm here now.
Excellent. So we have everyone. We've got Matt and Orion.
Great.
That's it.
Excellent. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are using video, but no need. We can't see you.
Oh.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and start here with something simple here. There's a number of our listeners who I'm sure probably don't know much about Lost Planet 3. So tell us a little bit about the game.
Well, I'll take that as Matt, by the way. Lost Planet 3 it's at its heart. It's basically it's a prequel to the first Lost Planet game, but it's the story of Jim Payton. He's a guy who's on Earth. He's got a wife and a newborn son, and things are bad on Earth. So he ends up taking a job with this company, Nevik, who fans of the franchise will know that company, on this off-world mission where he's going to get a lot of hazard pay and try and just basically make money to take care of his family back home. Of course, it's obviously not that simple. It never is. And it ends up snowballing into all kinds of conspiracy and all this other kind of stuff. Oh, and you end up shooting a whole bunch of giant creatures that are trying to eat you.
I like shooting giant creatures. Okay, so you mentioned...
And you get to beat them senseless with a mech, too. That's probably a nice selling point there on the game.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's always fun. So
Wait, we're supposed to sell the game?
Well, somebody's got to do it.
So the game is a prequel. Why did you guys decide to move backwards in the timeline rather than forward?
Well, the main reason was with Lost Planet 2, the sequel to obviously the first game, they had an event that was basically like the melting of the planet. Everything kind of thawed out. There were areas of ice and things like that. For those who don't know anything about the original Lost Planet, it's this entirely ice-covered world. It's all hostile with, snow and the creatures and all that kind of stuff. But in Lost Planet 2, there was this thaw that happened, and there are now kind of like jungle environments and all this other kind of stuff. They went big and kind of they wanted to tell this story that was, it was mostly just kind of like a multiplayer co-op free-for-all type of thing. They didn't go that heavy on story, and they just wanted to make this really arcadey, fun co-op game. For us, we wanted to kind of like pull it back a bit and tell a very kind of intimate, cinematic story that concentrated on the perspective of one guy facing this world. And to do that, we also kind of wanted to focus on what people really remembered of the first game and really loved of the first game, which was that icy snow environment. That at the time, when it came out, it was an environment that really wasn't touched on in shooters, and that's kind of what we wanted to capture. So to do that, we decided to go prequel. We went back in time to really kind of explore that character and what the world was like during the first colonization. That's
neat. I like the idea there. So. Now, I know the first couple of games were mostly designed and developed over in Japan, but now, obviously, we've had more of a shift from Eastern design to Western design. Besides it giving you guys a project to work on, what are your thoughts on the way this project went and a few other projects have been going with more Western than Eastern design?
Well, it's been kind of hit or miss in a lot of ways. when it works out, when you have a really good working relationship with the, well, like us, we work directly with some of the original creative team, including the franchise creative director, Goro-san, and we did a lot of. He'd fly out, or I'd go to Japan, and we collaborated a lot, and so it was a relationship and a working relationship that I think worked pretty well. There are other games that have tried it, even within Capcom and obviously other companies. It's kind of like soup. If the ingredients themselves can all be good, but sometimes when you put them together, they just don't mix well, and it makes a bad soup.
Yeah.
That's
very interesting analogy, but I like it.
That's the only way I can kind of describe it. But it just kind of worked out for us as far as how it worked, and I think part of why it worked was basically Ogura-san had told me kind of from the beginning that with Lost Planet 2 they felt like they had taken the franchise as far as they could take it, and so he was looking for kind of a new group to take it on and try and capture more that survival shooter kind of element, and really get back to the roots of the original game, which was to tell the story of one character, and that a lot of times Western developers are kind of better at that.
Okay, so you two obviously came on new to the series. You hadn't worked on the other ones before. What? And I guess maybe this might be a little more towards Orion, but either one. What kind of challenges did you encounter with the plot and the character development?
Well, it's an interesting challenge when you're working with a prequel, of course, because you kind of have some idea of where things need to end up. I mean, we know what the starting game board looks like for Lost Planet 1, and we're flashing back to 30, 40 years prior to that, and introducing characters that they're going to have complete arcs within what we're telling, but we're also setting up some things that fans of the franchise or people who can remember the plot points of the first one are going to recognize. Oh, hey, that young mechanic helping out our lead character in this game, he's the father of our protagonist in Lost Planet 1, and gee, what are we going to learn about his background? And he's so different from how we know him, and so we parts of the puzzle are already filled in, and we just want to make as rich as possible a path getting there.
Right. We had one of our kind of big themes of the game our game was about family, and so like Orion mentioned, there's a lot of familial ties. Like Gale, the character he mentioned, the mechanic, kind of one of the main baddies has ties too. And we build our own kind of family legacies within it. From the very beginning of the game, it's Jim telling this story as an old man, kind of on his deathbed in a way, to his granddaughter. And so we're trying to set up our own legacies as well. And tied to the world, we're trying to. I mean, we knew that by going prequel, we wanted to stay in that frozen environment, so we were able to attach that way. But since it was, told in the story of a flashback, we also had to, in a way, tie into the end of Lost Planet 2 as well.
All right.
And we're also really striving to hit a level of comprehensibility that wasn't necessarily what the series was known for. And I think it was largely, I think a lot of these Japanese titles are very often loved for their gonzo plotting, and gee, was that translated correctly? Because that made no sense, and there's something wonderful about that, and who doesn't love it? But there was definitely part of the push here was to have a Western storytelling, and in the best sense of it. I mean, we're all really kind of earnest here in trying to do something good and original, and I think the rules of good storytelling are going to be the same in any medium and in any culture, really, and we just wanted to kind of give it a really strong foundation that anything else could work off.
And when we were working through the story, we were really trying to touch on themes that are going to be universal. Everybody, especially game developers or whatever, understand what it's like to be away from your family for long periods of time, long hours, and things like that, and wishing that you were there with them and just trying to take care of them. And those kind of themes are things that it doesn't matter what language you speak or what country you're in. Those are things that people can kind of get. So when we're trying to tell this story, obviously it has a bit of a Western perspective because that's where we're from. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't that we were always including everyone by kind of keeping the themes as things that people can relate to.
Hi guys, this is Danny Batterman. I'm currently co-hosting the show this week.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So, because you two have just come onto this series, is there anything that you took from previous games that you've worked on and used that experience to either help you out or that directly impacted this particular game?
I think you're kind of... working in games, or really in any media, you're the sum of everything that you've worked on before. It's kind of hard to pinpoint. One of the things, obviously, I worked on where I met Rich Gobert, who couldn't make it with us tonight. He's the other of the three-headed writer monster. He and I worked on Anachronox many years ago. It's a game that's much loved, but no one hardly played. But something that we took from that was that it's okay when you're telling a story that's, mostly, has some serious themes and things like that. You got to have some levity. And so we worked in as much humor as we could that was appropriate to the story we were telling and the characters. We didn't go, kind of crazy slapstick or anything like that. But, I feel like humor is something that's missing from a lot of games, and it's something that we really wanted to infuse in it.
It's true. And it's fortunate in my part that the aforementioned Mr. Gobert has been a writing partner of mine through various mediums for many years. And when he went off to write Anachronox, literally this was an RPG game. This was scores and scores of NPCs and all these cities. This huge writing job that he hardly let me help on at all because he was off in Dallas and I was editing my movie. But I
think it was like 800 pages, wasn't it, Orion? The final script.
I think it was really ridiculous. So
wow.
So in this case, he's lead designer on Lost Planet 3, and I'm lucky to be the guy that gets the call when all of the screenplay stuff he's supposed to come up with. But that he and I have such a rapport, and that he and Matt have such rapport, and rapport turns out to have transitive properties because we were all really on the same page here. But that we felt pretty confident. Like people loved the Anachronox writing. I mean, that won like the inaugural Machinima Awards, if I'm not mistaken, for best picture. Shout out to Jake Strider Hughes. Best writing. All these things that it was recognized for. So knowing that that kind of commitment to not just quality, but a certain quirky style, a certain sense of humor, everything that Rich is known for, and I know we know the chemistry to create that together. But that's the game people should check out if people like our work here, or vice versa.
Just saying the name Anachronox, nobody's gonna know how to spell it to look it up. So that's always fun.
Just like it sounds.
Okay, so I have to ask, if you guys, take any property that's out there, and I'm just go nuts on this one a little bit. If there's any other video game property out there that you could work on, or would like to work on, what would it be? Dream project.
Jeez, dream project.
Well, this is probably a bit of a non sequitur, but I Rock Band.
Nice.
I'm really sorry to see that the whole DLC for Rock Band isn't going anywhere. There's still Beatles songs that haven't been released yet. Hello, man. I would have oodles of fun just translating songs into Rock Band. It's not really the skill set I have, unfortunately. But you want to talk dream job?
That's where I went with it.
Who doesn't want Rock Band Elvis Presley? I mean, come on. Let's see. It's tough. I love all the games that that Naughty Dog works on. Obviously, I've loved a lot of the BioShock titles. Reaching back in time, one of my favorite games I think they did an update not too long ago. Was Syndicate. I loved that game back in the day. And this is going to probably sound weird because everybody likes to bag on the franchise now, but one of the games that I worked on in my career that I think I would love to fix because I feel like in a way it's incredibly broken is Medal of Honor. I have thoughts on how Medal of Honor should be fixed, and I mean, if people remember back to Medal of Honor Allied Assault, Jesus, that game was amazing, and it was pre-Call of Duty, pre-all-war shooters, and I think there's some really cool stories that can be told within what should be the Medal of Honor universe, obviously in my opinion. Not to denigrate the work that a lot of friends who I still have back at EA still worked on those games, because they worked their asses off, and nobody wants to make a game that's not received well. I've been there. But I think I would love to make a Medal of Honor game in a way that I think that it is dying for.
So, for people who are fans of you or your work, what can they expect next? What do you guys got coming down the pipe?
Well, I don't know yet. Is basically the answer.
We're gonna be fixing ourselves some drinks.
Yeah,
Teases.
Let's see.
Next project, Rum and
I'm planning
Coke.
on building a rolling shelf in my kitchen so they can I can throw some pictures up on Twitter or something for that, and people can be fans of that.
I love it.
We're going to put ourselves into cryogenic storage for the day that Lost Planet 3 is discovered as the cult masterpiece that it is, and then they can thaw us out.
So would you be using the same ice that's found on the planet?
Yes. There you go.
So,
God, we'll see.
Well,
I guess that's the only answer I can really give.
how about this? I know you mentioned Twitter. I'm sure that there are people who, if you can't answer it now, you'll be able to answer it more later. People are going to want to follow you on Twitter, I would assume here. How do they do that?
Please do. I'm the Orion Walker, because I'm not the only Orion Walker, but I do have the biggest ego, so it's the Orion Walker.
Orion has an ego?
I can keep you all posted there.
How are you not the only Orion Walker? I'm kind of stunned by that.
I know.
Anyway, Matt Sophis. I'm pretty easy to find on Twitter. If you just punch in Sophis, SOPHOS, you'll likely run across me and the antivirus company. But I'm the only person with the actual last name.
So Orion, would you say the ego is bigger or smaller approximately than an 11-inch red ball?
Well, it depends on if it's inflated properly. I think it'll fit in there pretty snugly.
See, I was going to go with a constellation joke personally,
Sure.
but
We got that going on too. Yes, no, those people, those fans of Adult Kickball, I will, of course, as always, be live tweeting the Founders Cup World Championship of Adult Kickball this Columbus Day in Vegas.
Yeah, that's actually how Orion and I met, and I am so sad that I, for the first time in 4 years, am not going to be able to make it because I'm going to be out of the country. But I'm looking forward to rejoining you guys Columbus Day weekend 2014, though.
Awesome.
I'll be live tweeting my kickball game with my 14-month-old son in my backyard. So if people want to listen to that.
Teach him how to bunt. So.
Hey, kickball's gaming too, right? That counts.
Absolutely.
On topic.
getting up from my chair? You're asking too much.
You'd have to move things other than just your fingers. Like that.
So, well, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. And once you guys do have into a new project, we'll bring you back, and we're going to talk about that too.
Sounds cool.
Okay.
People play Lost Planet 3.
Please.
Okay.
We hope you like it.
So. Okay. So that was Orion Walker, Matt Sophis with from Lost Planet 3. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing, do our Kickstarter of the week, our song of the week, all the good segment 3 stuff. You are listening to the Gamers Dome on the Drawing Board Radio Network.
Do you need professional, reliable dog walkers, house sitters, or cageless in-home boarding? Check out my friends over at Leash and Lodge. They use GPS tracking for their walks, so you know they're always showing up when they say they do. With a 5-star Yelp average, they're the only guys you need to know. When you sign up, mention promo code DOME to get $15 off your first invoice. Check them out now at leashandlodge.com. That's leash, A-N-D, lodge.com. Leash and Lodge, because the better way is finally here.
Do you have a bookshelf full of comic books right next to the one full of video games? Are you a Whovian? A Trekkie? Do you aim to misbehave? Are you friends with Leonard and Sheldon? Do you tabletop with Will? If you answered yes to any of these, I have a new podcast for you. Digital Nerdage, the nerd culture podcast, visits everything in the world of nerd. Check it out at www.digitalnerdage.com.
Do you like stand-up comedy? Ever wonder what it takes to get up in front of a bunch of strangers and try to make them laugh? The truth is out there, folks, and Jake Adams brings you the nitty-gritty on his hot new podcast, Coming Up Standing. Every week on Coming Up Standing, Jake interviews another fresh up-and-coming comic like himself, hustling to make it happen on the LA comedy scene. Coming Up Standing is a free download available on iTunes. You can also find Jake on Twitter at Young Jake Adams. Coming Up Standing. Listen today and get your laugh on.
Color in your cheeks. Do you ever get that feel that you can't shift, the tide that sticks around like summits in your teeth? Are there some aces up your sleeve?
Welcome back to the Gamers Dome. That is our song of the week. It's Do I Want to Know by the Arctic Monkeys. So make sure to check them out and that song. We heard that one and loved it. So, speaking of our of the weeks, let's do our Kickstarter of the week. And I can't even tell you how tickled I was at this particular Kickstarter. When I saw it, I was like, really? It was such a blast from my past. So, there was a Sega Genesis game called Mutant, I believe it was Mutant League Football, I believe was the exact name of it. So it was these like crazy like mutant monsters out there playing football. It was beyond violent. It was hilarious. And it was a sports game. You pretty much got just about every genre in there all at once.
Yeah, I never personally owned a Sega Genesis. I was a little bit before my time, but I've always been a huge football fan, and I know of this game, and I watched people playing growing up, and I remember being in stitches. So
yeah, I'm a little too old here. I unfortunately didn't have one. Mutant Football League is the Kickstarter. They're trying to bring it back and update it, obviously, with modern graphics and stuff, and it looks freaking amazing. I watched the video for this, and I was just like, all right, guys, this is just one of those projects. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. The world will be a better place if this game gets made and put out there.
Yeah, it really is just a mashup of a lot of genres that a lot of people like, and it's based on the history of football games and how those have been established. It'll sell, and it's a great idea by these guys to take an old retro classic and bring it up to a modern era where a lot of people probably wouldn't have even recognized this game being on the radar. I personally would, haven't thought about it in a couple of decades.
Oh yeah, same here. So there's all sorts of packages you can get in for as cheap as $15, which gets you a copy of the mobile game. $30 gets you the Xbox Live version with in-game fart animation. Sold.
Sold.
$50 gets you exclusive death and taunt animations. Seriously, this is Mutant League Football. Only it's Mutant Football League. But it's everything. If you owned a Genesis and you ever played this game, you are going to be blasted back to your youth as soon as you look at this. They need $750,000 because, these things aren't exactly cheap, but it just launched. It's been up for like a day or so. They've already got 387 backers, close to $17,000 at airtime. So back it yourself. Tell your friends and family. We got to make this one happen because seriously, I want to play this game, and I don't have $750,000 myself to give them, so I need your help. So, what have we been playing? Let's see here. I'm going to let, as Danny is our guest host, I'm going to let you start. Danny, what have you been playing lately?
All right, well, in terms of video games, two games that I've been playing for a good while, and that I get to sound fresh because I'm the guest and I haven't spoken before, is The Binding of Isaac, specifically with the expansion Wrath of the Lamb, and Spelunky, the HD remake. Both of these games are RNG-based. Binding of Isaac is created by Edward McMillan and Florian Hill, Team Meat, also responsible for Super Meat Boy, Gish, things like that. It is a RNG-based dungeon crawler, kind of like going through the Legend of Zelda status, going through these dungeons, and it's about an infant whose mother is crazy and trying to kill him, and you get various power-ups and make your character look, disformed and hideous, and it's really punishing. It's really challenging. You're going to go into this game and you're going to expect it to be, I've done this before, and then it just kills you. But it's just addicting. And Spelunky's kind of the same way, where unlike an RNG-based dungeon crawler, it's an RNG-based platformer. So it's Mario, but random. And you're going through a cave and a jungle and hell and things like this, and trying to, get as much treasure as possible while exploring the world and trying not to die to pretty much everything that moves. And once again, it's really challenging, it's really punishing, but it's just so addicting because it's like, I need to beat this game. And it's, in this version, not only are the graphics remade from the original, but there's a feature called the Daily Challenge where everyone gets the same randomly generated layout every day. You can only do it once per day, and then there's a leaderboard, so the higher you get on it, the more you get to gloat.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's everyone gets the same map, so it's not like, oh, I got varianced out. It's like, well, no, that person ran into that exact same trap, and they just jumped over it. So
awesome. And
in terms of gaming, in and of itself, even though I haven't been doing much because of my vacation, a lot of Magic the Gathering, a lot of Magic the Gathering.
People still play that game?
Yeah, it's actually it's played enough so that right now we're set up in a shop called MTG Deals, which is hosting its second annual MTG Deals Open on September 28th and 29th. Both Standard and Legacy, Saturday and Sunday respectively, each with a $3,000 prize pool. So if you live anywhere in the Southern California area, Northern California area even, or some of the surrounding states, come down. We're gonna be we're the new kids on the block, but we're coming with a vengeance. So make yourself a part of history.
Wait, so you guys are going to be doing a standard tournament, and Theros is going to be out?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you guys are pretty much running one of the first major Theros legal standard tournaments out there, period. Like a week before states, like this is the place to come and get it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially you bring up States, too, because we're also hosting States, conveniently enough. So you'll get a chance to see what the metagame is like and get a chance to play with the new cards. So it'll be really good. It'll really good experience, and who knows, you might be able to make your wallet a bit fatter at the end of it.
Interesting. Well, it just so happens that I've been playing a little bit of Magic myself, and I'm certainly interested in the Deals Open. Though I'm probably going to be more of a scout, if you will, than a player, because I'm preparing for this silly little tournament like 2 weeks after that in Ireland. So I want to figure out what I'm supposed to play over there. Though speaking of Pro Tours, I played a Pro Tour qualifier down at Costa Mesa, and I guess I just can't complain too much. 193 people, and I escaped by the skin of my teeth with a victory in that tournament.
So that has you queued for Born into Nyx, so you're queued for the next 2 Pro Tours?
I am. I'm now going to Dublin, and Hasbro gets to send me to Valencia, Spain, and I didn't sleep Saturday night. I physically couldn't sleep Saturday night. I was a little excited, just a little.
Yeah, I personally got a chance to work with Craig Ruesco for Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, and that was an experience. So I can't even imagine about playing on a Pro Tour and how you would have felt on that one.
Yeah, it's this Dublin will be my 4th Pro Tour, but my first one in like 11 plus years. It was Osaka 2002 was the last time I played in a Pro Tour, so I'm it'll be a new experience all over again for me.
That's when I started playing. I think maybe 2001. Close enough.
I'm old. So I've also been playing a little SoulForge. I always feel like I need to give a shout out to those guys because I love that game. I play it literally daily. So you should go on Steam and download it and play it. But I want to normally this is where we're going to taper off, but Theros is being released this weekend. There's going to be pre-releases all over the place. I guess you guys here at Deals, you wouldn't be running a pre-release, would you?
We might have one at midnight for those of you who are really eager for getting the new cards, and you might have a couple of flights on Sunday, the day after, to give everyone a chance to sleep.
So are you guys not running any Saturday flights?
I'm just the one at midnight. They're also just going to be there. There might be some raffles for some booster boxes Friday night if you come down for F&M. You won't be getting them until midnight because that's when legally by policy we aren't allowed to give those out until the pre-release, or actually I believe until the release date if we're actually following policy. Yeah, so you won't be able to get them until, conveniently enough, the day the MTG Deals Open, where you'll have, with that booster box, good fodder for your new standard deck. But because that's what policy says, and we don't want to piss Wizards of the Coast off, because Wizards of the Coast is almighty.
Banhammer.
Yeah, and speaking of almighty, though, we have a Greek mythology set that nice little unintentional segue. We got a first ever Magic set based on Greek mythology, which I in middle school was a huge Greek mythology geek. So
as was I. I'm pretty geeking out on this set. So I want to take just a couple of minutes here and discuss a few of the new cards. Like what's really caught your eye? I mean, obviously I've been staring this thing down a little bit too much, having to prepare. But I want to know what's caught your eye from this set.
Well, my biggest question to the set is honestly, what does Volpine Goliath say? I need to know. It's must like those guys from Europe, have to know what the fox says. Anyway, in all seriousness, this is a really tough nut to evaluate. This is going to be, I think, one of the most intrinsically difficult sets to evaluate since Gatecrash, where everyone knew there were going to be playable cards, but they didn't know exactly what. The things, I think, that are on people's radar the most right now are the 5 gods, because Magic has never seen anything like them before, and all the Planeswalkers, because they're new Planeswalkers, and everyone immediately jumps on the Planeswalker hype train. So if we're going to go a little bit, it's been kind of talked up to death, but from hoping to share of my voice a bit, especially from the perspective of a bit of more of an Eternal player. So starting off with the gods, because they're, I guess, the faces of the set. I think off the bat, the two best ones, kind of unanimously, are Porphyros, the red one, and Thassa, the blue one. Porphyros is, in and of itself, commits to a very heavy aggro strategy, and it lets you, it takes advantage of the creature-driven metas that WotC has. Apologies on the mispronunciations, by the way. If I do, but it's the Porphyros' abilities takes advantage of the creature-driven metagame that WotC is been establishing lately. Combos very well with things like Young Pyromancer, because even though the Pyromancer tokens don't necessarily increase devotion, it will trigger the 2 damage ability, and it will take advantage of the fire breathing. If it's kind of a good top end for any sort of mono red deck too, which is always kind of the default answer a lot of people go to at the very birth of the new format during rotation, because there are no wrong threats, there are just wrong answers. And it's appropriate that it's a nice little top end, because Hellrider is leaving us, which was the go-to 4-drop for mono red, and arguably one of the best cards mono red has ever had. So I think it'll find a nice little home there. Thassa is a bit of a tougher nut to crack, because blue isn't necessarily known for being able to have a lot of permanents a lot of creatures or a lot of permanents in play that'll trigger her devotion. But she is the cheapest at 3 mana, as opposed to everything else being at 4 mana. And Scry 1 is no joke. It's probably, on its own, the best of the abilities, just through card selection. And her other ability, the enchantment ability, where you could spend 2 mana, 1 colorless and 1 blue, to make any creature you control unblockable, including herself when she's animated, is a big deal, because she's the only god that gives that kind of benefit to herself. I actually think, even if Standard necessarily doesn't have a home for her, I think Modern might be the perfect home in Merfolk, because it gives Merfolk 2 things it desperately lacks. It lacks card selection, which is given to you by Scry. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. And it gives you evasion against the non-blue decks. And considering the results of Grand Prix Detroit, where, you had 6 black-green mid-range decks, 4 of them being Jund, and Affinity, you don't have a lot of blue decks necessarily being at the forefront of Modern, so being able to give that evasion and being able to be online as soon as turn 4 is, I think, going to be very nice. The other gods, Elberos is exciting in the sense that, it gives control decks another card advantage engine, or it makes, actually mono black a thing, because people keep trying to make mono black a thing. The other two, Heliod might be a decent curve topper in kind of a mid-range deck, or also as a control deck as a win con, because you have 4 mana is a lot for a creature, but if you have total control of a game, it doesn't matter how you win, it's just that you win. Aetherlink's probably a better finisher, and Niall, I believe, is the green one. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. Just seems very underwhelming overall. Good little EDH card, though, I guess. As for the Planeswalkers, really the standout card probably of the set is Xenagos.
He is very interesting. I'm definitely looking at him a lot as far as what he can do.
I personally see him kind of going in 2 directions, which I'm probably going to elaborate more and more on in the coming weeks. The first direction I see is he slides into the kind of Kibler Gruul, or big Gruul, or Dragon Master Red Green, whatever you want to call it, deck, because a lot of those parts are interchangeable. We have Thundermaw Hellkites leaving, but we've got Stormbreath Dragon, we've got Hellrider leaving, we've got Ogre Battle Driver, and going turn 1 Elvish Mystic, turn 2 Domri Raid, draw a creature, fight a creature, turn 3 Xenagos, make a 2/2 attack, and then just have infinite mana to do whatever you want afterwards seems like the Stone Blade, no pun intended. The other direction is possibly just a big ramp deck with Garruk Caller of Beasts, which I'm not exactly sure how that one will go.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, like I said, I've been doing a lot of testing and stuff myself, so it's interesting to see other people's perspectives as well. So I'll certainly give more of my thoughts in the weeks coming. I'm not really in a position I can talk too much about Theros, only because of I do have a few teammates, etc. But it's interesting to get other people's perspectives as far as what's actually been going on.
Yeah.
So interesting. I appreciate the perspective. So we have now come to the end of another show. Danny, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
I certainly appreciate it. I'd like to thank our guests as well, Orion and Matt. Thanks for coming on here and talking about the game. Loved having you guys on. All of our sponsors, everyone behind the scenes that helps put this on, Adrian on the boards, making this show work. MTG Deals for being so accommodating and running the shows here. Make sure you come down to their tournaments, the Opens, the States, everything. Until next week, this is Scott Gerhardt for the Gamers Dome, and keep playing, everyone. Bye.